we've got about 3 or 4 more stories to go before the evening is over here with 3D Politics. I'm Tom McKay, your host. We've got David Van, David Oldham, David D'Ambroso here talking all things politics here in Oklahoma. We're going to move on to, do you want to do the theological stuff or constitutional carry?
The theological.
Well, it's basically, we've got this list of 11 pedophile priests.
Oh yeah,
let's talk about that stuff.
Just 11, Tom?
Well, 8 of them are dead, so it's time to get them in trouble. It's not like they can get out of it. Life is eternal.
For those who don't know, this past week, the Diocese of Tulsa, or in Tulsa, or wherever it is,
Eastern Oklahoma,
came out and declared that they were, I think, airing some dirty laundry.
It's an admission.
And making an admission.
Confession is good for the soul.
And it's, it's confession. It's got to happen sometime, and 30 or 40 years late is better than never, right? Yeah. But apparently they have known about these pedophile priests, and they announced that they announced 11 of them. But we know that 8 are dead, no longer on the earth, and the other 3 are not to be found, and the church is not letting anybody know where they are, or even who they are.
Well, they said no longer serving in the priesthood is, I think.
Is that what they said? I thought it was just not in the diocese.
So maybe they're bishops now, or
right.
But
and let's also say this: their term was, there is credibility to the accusations against him. I don't want us to get sued for.
Well, no, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The question is, how long have these credible accusations been held onto and been suppressed?
Yeah, centuries.
And there are priests currently under investigation and suspended from the priesthood in this diocese currently who weren't on that list, that served right here in Tulsa in the last few years. So it's bigger than that list.
What were these kids wearing?
I know. Did they ask for it, Tom?
They were wearing MAGA hats.
Just
they deserved it according to the left.
A little tension.
That's right. Little tension.
Yeah, there you broke the surface tension.
All right.
So anyway, that happened this week. Folks, check them out. All of the news agencies had it on their services. You can check out.
Yeah, and let's say, good for you, Roman Catholic leadership. Whether you should have done it 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you did it, and that's a good thing. Now let's keep going.
Right, 11 down, thousands to go.
Listen, I've known a lot of great priests and nuns. Okay, there are, one of my favorite teachers as a child, Sister Sienna. And she was fantastic and devoted and lived a life with a vow of poverty and total service. And I commend that, just like my 2 aunts who served their whole lives as nuns.
I have great respect, the greatest respect, actually, theologically, for my favorite Catholic, Martin Luther.
Yeah, well, no kidding.
They pretty much made a saint now after they excommunicated him.
Well, they were going to do all that stuff he suggested anyway.
But no, that's what they said. When a good thing's being done, you got to commend the good thing, right? And so,
well.
I'm talking about revealing the list. No, revealing that list, it's you're not going to get closure without bringing it. And I know
it's better than doing nothing.
We can hope. Well, you can also be very, very sly and deceptive about doing it, and that's worse. Than
look how cynical you're. We're asking for a little faith.
There had to be 1,500 years of good works by the Catholic Church before Martin Luther could come along and balance it out. So I mean, he could have done anything without
Martin Luther.
So the point is, he furthered, like you said, he was a Catholic. He furthered the Catholic.
Actually, do you know what Martin Luther's complaint was?
Well, there are about 88 of them.
The wafers were
no, actually, they weren't.
They
They were not Catholic enough.
Yeah,
the
boy.
Pope was a heretic and not Catholic enough. That it was
Yeah.
his
We are not
crime
gonna
against the Catholic
He's
Church.
a super Catholic.
Tonight.
But
Let me say this. If the Methodist Church had been around 2,000 years, they'd have a much longer list of scandals. And I'm just going to say this happens with all denominations.
Yeah, that's fair.
well, especially when they force their men to be asexual.
No,
and that's just
And
Oh,
do
you
you
know
know,
facts.
do you know, and it was actually my younger brother who studied for the Catholic priesthood told me it's only been in the last about 600 years that they've required celibacy.
really.
Yeah, and so they've been, they're an evolving church, and truth sometimes gets evolved with it too, you know,
It
as
just,
far as
it
what's
just
right.
really
But-
galls me what they did to the Bible in the 3rd century and just adding all this stuff in there that was never in there before the practice.
Yeah, and again, you're free to have your views on
Sure,
that, just
of
like
course.
they're on theirs.
Not
but,
him.
but when it,
600 years of celibacy?
but
Holy
yeah,
mackerel.
but
That's a long
Yeah,
time being celibate.
Long time.
That's a theological
You
point,
know
but
what?
on the logical point that you brought up, the
I-
long history,
Well-
maybe it's a good record. We just don't have anything to rival
you
it.
know, there are good and bad things, like in any group of people trying to find truth and live by it. You know, I spent my first 18 years as a Roman Catholic. You know, and for me,
Yeah, I think my whole family's
that
Catholic.
that pilgrimage that each of us really individually have to go on. It has to be individual.
Right.
You have to decide and go that.
And
you
it
know,
starts with
I
having
I
your
want
own
to-
Bible and your own language to
Yeah,
read.
and,
That's where
so-
it begins.
But I just really want to say we've seen a lot of exploitation in the name of God by religious
Happens
people.
in every group.
I have often said this.
True.
The scripture where it says, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain," he wasn't talking about vulgar speech there. He was talking about saying, "Thus saith the Lord," when the Lord hasn't spoken.
Right.
And I
Good part,
contend that more likely happens behind the pulpit than those who sit in the pews.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's statistically sound assumption. I think that's
So,
very good.
anyway, there's our theology section.
We are
Tom.
way off
Wow.
into the theology.
And if you'd
let's
like
get
to
back
call
to
into
the
3D
news.
politics,
Yeah.
let us know what you think.
Yeah.